What's going on, Grinders? It's Chief Justice 06 here with my boy Luch. It's time for Grinders Live. I'm coming in melancholy on purpose because the rest of the show is going to be live at 5. There will be shenanigans. You already know this. Let me put my radio voice on because we've got something going on with Stat Hero. And I want to make sure I get this across to the people the right way. Here we go. Stat Hero is partnered with RotoGrinders to give two fans, that's right, two, the MLB All-Star experience of a lifetime. Enter Stat Hero's All-Star head-to-head lineup. Win and you are in, people. The top two highest scores from now through July 10th. That's about 3 days away. Minimum $20 cash entry will win the grand prize. The next 10 highest scores will receive MLB premium membership. If I'm you, I say just lose. Win the premium membership. That way you can make way more money. Just kidding. Top two highest scores will receive the grand prize of 2 tickets. That's right, 2 to the Home Run Derby on July 18th. 2 tickets to the MLB All-Star Game, airfare, hotel included. 10 additional winners, once again, will receive a RotoGrinders MLB premium membership. Watch for the All-Star head-to-head lineup in the Stat Hero lobby. Ladies and gentlemen, the particulars are out of the way. You are now actually in the show. Luch, what is going on, fam?
Chief, you got a future in media, my friend. What a voice. I hope those local radio stations are tuning in because you are good at what you do. I like that A's hat too, by the way.
Yeah, man, this is a gift from a friend of mine who's got an uncle that's on the A's staff. So I appreciate it. And it is actually a nice set. I think this is the on-field edition. I think they actually got it like right from the A's organization. They shipped it out to me. So I appreciate it, my man. Listen, we've got an interesting show here today because when it comes to pitching, and I know we all like to start at pitching, there's maybe one or two guys that I actually want to play. We've got some other guys that have upside in worse matchups. And so here we go. Luch, where do you want to kick this show off? I'm not Dean. I don't look like Dean. I don't smell like Dean. I don't eat like Dean. So this isn't going to be your mama's Grinders Live. I'm not going to do anything the way Dean does it. So I'm just letting the people know right now, and that's nothing against Dean. We have to do this our way. Speaking of our way, the Food for Thought podcast will be back next week. And we're going to run this thing up all the way to the first week of NFL. We're going to have some special guests. We're going to talk trades. I'm not even going to get into any of the stuff that we're talking about. We're just going to let you know it's coming. Myself and Luch will be on. Once again, we're going to have some special guests. I mean, man, I think it's going to be another season, another Food for Thought. It's going to be fun. If you go to the barbershop, you basically listen to our show. If you don't go to the barbershop, but you've listened to our show, you've pretty much been to the barbershop. Luch, plug it in, and then we're going to get to this show here.
Yeah, I had to find an excuse to wear my Derrick Henry shirt in honor of bringing Food for Thought back. Football season's here. We're working on some really fun guests. Of course, we're going to bring in our guys from RG throughout the season as well. I'm working on one guy right now. Hint, he's pretty good at best ball and has a lot of hot takes. So we might bring our guy on for week 1 or week 2. We'll see. We'll get Bimefo on early. And I'm not even gonna ask you about the Sam Darnold Baker Mayfield issue. We're gonna save that for the podcast. But I am curious if there's overreactions in best ball with DJ Moore or anybody tied to these situations. I don't even want to give you the mic because we'll go an hour on the Panthers and no offense, I don't think anybody wants to hear that right now because we're in baseball mode. But we are going to start with pitching. And first of all, strikeout props are money. Home run props are money. Our guy Grant Neefer with turd bombs, which you've seen on Twitter on the MLB HR page, which I tell you what, if you have your popcorn, you can go through those comments and it is pretty funny. But A, shout out to Grant for crushing home run picks over there. B, congrats to Grant for getting married this weekend coming up, by the way. And where was I going with this? Scores and odds. Duh. We have a $9.99 promo. You can get all of the premium stuff picks for everything, guys. $9.99 for your first month. Look at that graphic right on cue. Producer Steve, always on his A game, despite being a Mets fan. Wrong New York team. It's okay, buddy. But anyway, check out our summer special promo here, and we're ready to rock and roll. Our baseball team's been awesome, Chief. You're throwing in picks yourself too, and we always have a ton of action over there. So anyway, yeah, we have one ace up top, Chief. His name's Dylan Cease. He's playing the high strikeout Tigers here. It's not surprising that he's carrying a ton of ownership. Both sites, he's probably the highest floor. His ceiling is astronomically high. The ownership number is going to be big. He's the cash game pitcher. Would you agree or disagree?
I definitely agree. I will say this. I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way early. Dylan Cease is coming in at 8.5 today. Do I think he can hit that number? Yes. Do I feel really good taking the under? Also, yes. And look, the guy could go out and murder this team, but when I start getting 8.5, I take 8.5 under on Woodruff, Burns, Cole, all of them. Like it's just part of my makeup. Yes, Detroit sucks. I know. But yeah, Dylan Cease definitely probably at the top of the list. I mean, he's 9,800 on DK. In cash games, I don't see a reason to not play him. I know that Bieber did not have a great day against them yesterday in terms of our expected output in the strikeout department, but Dylan Cease has got a lot more strikeout stuff than Bieber right now. So I'm with you. I definitely think Dylan Cease is the cash guy. What I will plug in from a props perspective, this doesn't have anything to do with Dylan Cease, so let me go ahead and make that clarifying statement. If you can get Tony Gonzalen anywhere at 17.5 pitching outs, I'm not playing him in DFS, but 17.5 pitching outs. Listen, in the prop shop, we've been taking him over pitching outs since he's been around 14.5, 15.5, and I think we've only missed once. And I think that was a game in Cincinnati, the Great American Small Park. He just didn't get there. But other than that, like Tony Gonzalen's like an automatic 6 innings, and that's it. If you ever get him at 18.5, just take the under. They're not letting him go past 6. But love Tony Gonzalen from a props perspective. But in terms of the top of the list for pitching on DK, I definitely think it's Dylan Cease. He's the guy for sure. What I will also say, though, is because Dylan Cease is getting so much ownership, I like Garrett Cole today. Does he have the best matchup on the board? Absolutely not. Like he's facing Boston, but you can't tell me that Garrett Cole's not going to get the strikeouts. It's just, does he not give up runs? And that's, I think, that's kind of I don't want to call it a dilemma, but I guess that's a decision point for me because when I look at Boston, I mean, you've got Duran, Devers, but there's some strikeouts in this lineup. Like it's not like he's not going to K anyone. The guy's got a 31.5% K rate and a 3.5 xFIP. Only walking guys 7% of the time. And the ownership differential between him and Dylan Cease is pretty large. And that's on FanDuel. I'm sorry. On FanDuel, he's Dylan Cease is 33%, and he's 10.4, and Garrett Cole's 12% at 10.9. So sorry, I didn't mean to screw that up there. On DraftKings, I'm trying to swap over here if my computer will cooperate while we're live on air. Thanks, computer. You just cooperated. Garrett Cole, Dylan Cease is at 51%, and we're getting Garrett Cole at 29. So still a pretty big disparity in ownership projections, and maybe I need to refresh, but I still think that's a really big gap. I mean, we're pushing a little over 20% of a gap there between Cease and Cole. And Cole's at 29% is still a reasonable amount, but Cease at 51, whew, that's up there. It's worth it. I definitely think it's worth it against Detroit, but I do think I'm really interested in Garrett Cole. Somebody I'm not as interested in that's garnering pretty high ownership as well is Joe Musgrove at 9,700. Like I'm not thrilled about the matchup. So he's a guy, if I'm in 1 entry max, 3 entry max, something like that, single entry or 3 entry max, he's probably going to stay on the shelf. I also think it's probably a day where I'm going, close to double stud. Like I don't think I'm spending down too much. And then let me get and I'm going to hand over to you, Luke, so you can do your thing. I'm going to get the the elephant in the room, what I think is the elephant in the room pitcher today, and that's Spencer Strider. Love Spencer Strider. Think he's been fantastic. I'm not playing him today against St. Louis, bottom line. St. Louis has not struck out enough for me over the course of a season for this to turn out great. I know that Spencer Strider has been freaking amazing throughout the whole season. 11 Ks against Cincinnati, 7 against the Dodgers. Like that to me, 7 is his cap today. And so he'll still be fine, right, if he gets 7 Ks. But from a props perspective, I think he's been coming in at 7.5 on the books most places. I've absolutely taken the under. 4 against the Giants, 11 against Washington, 8 against Pittsburgh, 5, 7. 5. I mean, I don't see a big strikeout day against St. Louis, especially with Tyler O'Neill not playing. I just don't see it. So I'm absolutely not going to be riding the Spencer Strider wave, and he's at 30% as well. I'd absolutely invest in Garrett Cole today versus Strider, despite the huge strikeout numbers. Like I understand that. I know the strikeout numbers are there, but still, like this St. Louis team, they've got one guy in their lineup above 25%. That's projected anyway. Everybody else is nowhere near that. So I'm not going to be playing much Strider. If it burns me, hey, it is what it is. I'm willing to roll with my decisions. I'm confident in that. And so there you have it. Luch, pitching, break it down.
Yeah, I think a lot of this analysis is contingent on weather, and neither of us can pretend to do Kevin Roth's job. So you're going to want to stay tuned to crunch time. He has a lot of yellow-green and a yellow game. One of those yellow games is St. Louis and Atlanta. We're going to need a Roth update. One of the other green yellow is, in fact, Detroit. If you look at our RotoGrinders MLB weather page, there are storms lurking. It's hot. It's humid, across the country. So I'm going to give this analysis as if things are a go, right? Like we don't have any worries. You make a lot of good points. Anytime you can get Garrett Cole at this projected ownership, his ceiling is massive. He is the highest ceiling as of any pitcher in baseball, really. He hasn't been good in Fenway, hasn't pitched a ton there, but he's been less than electric, and I think that's generous. I do think he's a fantastic large field tournament pivot, but I think I have a little more interest in Joe Musgrove, who, again, draws a tough matchup. When I'm looking at this Boston lineup, there's no Bobby Dahlbeck, not a ton of Ks. But of course, sometimes that just doesn't matter when you have elite pitching. You're making the same case for Spencer Strider, who has elite stuff, doesn't need that third pitch just yet because the first two are just so damn good. And not a lot of teams have seen it yet. So I get it. If I'm playing large field tournaments, I like being overweight on Garrett Cole. You don't have to get crazy to do it either. I feel like I like Joe Musgrove. The Giants, another pesky team. Dylan Cease was chalk, 5 days ago against those very San Francisco Giants and let a lot of people down. Musgrove has been so good. Off the top of my head, I think he's had 2 games with more than 2 earned runs that he's given up this season. His strikeout stuff is respectable, 25%. I think Musgrove is a really, really interesting pivot. Tony Gonzalen is 10-0, which is crazy, by the way. Chief,
but it's not though.
I'm curious. I mean, he hasn't thrown 100 pitches in a game this season. Does that worry you at all? Does he have to be extremely efficient to get, the ceiling you need to take down a tournament?
Yeah, but he's pretty efficient pretty much every game. Like that's the thing, right? Like almost every game he's fairly efficient. Like we're not really seeing Tony Gonzalen not do what he's supposed to do. He continues to limit damage. I don't think he's given up more than 2 runs all season. And I think I'm correct on that. If I'm not, please correct me, but I don't think I'm wrong there. Hasn't given up, more than 2 runs any game. Gets a lot of ground balls, and it's just how he's getting it done. The strikeouts are going to be anywhere, from my opinion, in a range from 5 to 7, right? Most starts. That's like my range he's in. Tonight he gets the Cubs, so I'd lean on the side of probably 6 strikeouts. I think that's where I'd lean there in terms of where he will end up. He'll probably go 6 innings yet again. I'm absolutely taking the over on 17.5. And he's proven all season that he's going to limit the damage. So if you're telling me, he's probably only going to give up a run or two, 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, I definitely think Gonzalez is going to be fine. The thing is, Dylan Cease and Garrett Cole have massive upside. Gonzalez doesn't have massive upside. He very rarely is he going to go and get you 10 strikeouts. That's going to be far few and in between. Most of his ceiling games is going to come with the 6 innings, 6 Ks, no runs. That's where his ceiling comes in, is limiting the damage in the earned run department. It's not the strikeouts. And so when I know that Dylan Cease can probably go, if he's not too erratic on the front end, he'll probably go 5 or 6 innings, 8 Ks, 9 or 10 if he's really, really rolling. He's going to be valued over Tony Gonzalez for me, which is why I kind of just been sticking to Gonzalez in the prop game. Garrett Cole is in a similar situation. If he's rolling, and now he's starting to go well over 100 pitches, most starts. If he's rolling, let's say he's at 90-ish pitches. Let's go 92 pitches at the end of the 6th, and he's got 8 strikeouts, and the game's 0-0. They'll probably trot him back out for a 7th inning, and maybe picks up 8 or 9 strikeouts. I just think he's got a little bit more ceiling. So that's why I'm interested in Cole and Cease. Musgrove absolutely is going to eat through the innings as well, but I'm just not as enthused with where he is on the price scale today for the matchup. But once again, I'm with you. Musgrove should be fine. I like Cole and Cease better.
Yeah, I got to check the total. Last night, that Musgrove game had a 6.5 total, which speaks a lot towards him and Logan Webb and how talented they really are. If you read $1 Million Musings, he talks a lot. Dave Potts, the DFS godfather of baseball himself, about good real life pitching and good real life matchups. And I think that's definitely what you're gonna get with the Logan Webb, Joe Musgrove game for sure. So Gonzalen, I think I'm more interested on FanDuel than DK, because what do the Dodgers do? They score runs against pretty much anybody. They shouldn't have an issue scoring runs against Mark Leiter today. And, getting the quality start and getting that win is a big 10 points and could be a big swing on FanDuel, I think, Chief. And, he might not have the 10K upside, but, let's say Dylan Cease goes 5 innings, doesn't get the quality start, leave some points on the table. I can just see Gonzalen, netting those 10 points on FanDuel, and it could be a big deal. I just don't see Cease having any problems. This is the bounce back spot of all potential bounce back spots for him. I mean, you got Victor Reyes batting second. If command is the big issue, and he's been much better lately, but if command is the Achilles heel of Dylan Cease and Spencer Strider, for the most part, 2 pitchers we're talking a lot about today who are carrying the biggest ownership numbers. I mean, you have Victor Reyes batting second, who, I'm looking at plate IQ in 70 plate appearances against righties this season. He has a 0.0 walk percentage. And let me check my notes. That's not very high. So, there's just not guys in this Detroit order outside of, Grossman and Riley Green in a small sample size that draw any walks whatsoever here. These guys are swinging. We know about Javi Baez. We know about his chase rate. Javi Baez might strike out 4 times himself tonight, Chief. So this is I'm all about fading chalk, but it's a really tough one to stomach. If you're playing 3 max type of stuff, I would have Cease in some kind of lineup, pair him with some contrarian bats perhaps, because he's going to be at a high ownership.
Yeah, look, like I said, I'm in on the Cease train for sure. I don't think he's going to have any problems. It was just the 8.5K prop where I'm that's getting real close to me starting to take an under. That's oof. Listen,
yeah,
trust me on this. 8.5. I know this matchup is really tasty, but all it takes is a couple extra ground ball outs, and he ends with 8. I know. So at any rate, I'm with you there. Let's talk about Joe Budden, shall we? While we're in the midst of the show. And Joe Budden came out with one of the hottest tracks of the summer at that time, and it was called Pump It Up. And move your thing, let me do it. I mean, so that was the Joe Budden. Today's segment, Joe Budden's Pump It Up play of the day. And we're talking about the stacks. We're just going to move right to stacks, all right? Who are we pumping up today, Luch? I've got a stack on my list that seems to be, let's call it somewhat off the beaten path. I just kind of want to know where your head is. I think we're good with pitchers. We don't have to explain pitchers anymore, people. It's very simple. It's very simple. If you're on FanDuel and you're playing cash games, you play Dylan Cease. If you're on FanDuel, if you're playing tournaments, you can probably still play Dylan Cease. You won't go wrong. I like Garrett Cole a great deal. Luch likes Musgrove a great deal. There you have it. Like, I think those are three quality pitchers. They will all probably finish within a fraction of a few points within each other. If it's FanDuel scoring, let's say if Cease does have a ceiling game, he's probably around 52. If Cole has an average game to somewhat ceiling, he's probably around 49. And if Musgrove keeps rolling, he's probably anywhere from 46 to 49 points. So there you have it. Like, that's pitching to me on FanDuel. On DK, somewhat of the same. I understand that. I will say this. Let me plug this in. I'm sorry, guys. We are going to stacks. I want to get to the Pump It Up play, Joe Budden, stacks. Here we go. I do think Jordan Lyles is viable at 6,900 against the Angels. There will be strikeouts. Like, at 6,900, is Jordan Lyles great? The answer is no. Will he get strikeouts today, though? The answer is yes. Will he get at least 5 strikeouts? Probably. Will he give up runs? Absolutely. Will he give up more than 3 runs? I can't answer that. I cannot answer that. But Jordan Lyles will probably give up a run or 2 today, and he'll probably still get 5 or 6 strikeouts against the Angels lineup. And at 6,900, like, I'm absolutely okay with that. I'm really close to being okay with Austin Gomber, but I don't think he has more upside than Jordan Lyles. So I'm just not going to play him. Jordan Lyles does have 20-point upside in this spot. And at 6,900, I'm willing to do that. Okay, that closes out my DK portion. Pump it up. Let's go.
I just want to. I'll just say, like, the value is disgusting. If you're not paying up for a second number 2 starter, if you have any questions on the value here, we'll do our best. It's ugly. Jordan Lyles probably headlines the value discussion on DK, and that's not extremely appetizing. But you're right. The Angels strike out so much. By the way, Pump It Up. Do we have any gamers in the chat? Was that Madden 04 or Madden 05? Those EA soundtracks back in the day, Chief, they, you could keep them on at house parties if you wanted to back in the day. Those soundtracks were great.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of.
Steve, are we going to listen? Producer Steve, are we going to get in trouble if we got Joe Budden playing in the background? Like, are we going to have any copyright infringements going? If I just plug this Joe Budden, like, while we're live on the air, please, in my ear, is that going to be an issue? Because if so, then I won't worry about it. But I do have that song, like, in my old school hip hop list. And producer Steve could probably hit us in the chat or somewhere. Copyright infringement. That's what we're trying to find out. Anyway, you go ahead.
All right.
Oh, he says. Steve says not sure. Okay, Devo. I think Devin's in the chat. Devin, are we on any type of copyright infringement problem if Joe Budden hits the airwaves for like 30 seconds or less? I'm just trying to find out here because we don't want to put the company in any sort of trouble.
This guy hosts one Grinders Live, and now we have to ping our legal team at 5 Eastern.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
Joe Budden matters, man. We need some Pump It Up. Ton of bats, man. And I was on the morning grind last night. Keep it under 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
Oh, that was 5. All right, 5 seconds at a time.
Wrap it up.
There we go.
Oh, man.
All right, stats.
Reminds me of the Dave Chappelle episode. Many great ones, but the Wrap It Up box episode. Again, We'll keep that talk under 5 seconds as well, because I don't know what we can and can't talk about besides baseball and movies on this show, but I love it. Listen, Atlanta, great spot here, right? Like, Liberatore is a great prospect, highly touted, cannot get righties out, Chief. What does Atlanta do? They mash lefties. There should be some pretty ideal hitting conditions there as well. I'm looking at our DraftKings projected ownership here, and I don't see any issues with playing a ton of Braves. I don't see any projected ownership here. I got the BatX projections pulled up on my screen. I don't see anybody over 11%. And you know what that is? That's music to my ears. That's a pump it up stack right there. I love the Braves today. That's where I want to get the discussion started here.
Yeah, listen, really like the Braves. I'm with you. That's not my my sneaky stack there, but I'm with you, man. Now look, the Braves have been strikeout city all season, but I mean, this guy's got a 6.67 xFIP, 60.5% K rate, 11.4% walk rate. I mean, listen, it's going to be balls are going to be flying out of the stands. I mean, it's going to be crazy. I'm looking at Liberatore, and so what I do on Plate IQ, for those of you that don't know, I like to really dig into the pitch types. It's not listen, this isn't some magical system. I'm not the only person that does this. I'm not God's gift to Mlb Dfs, okay? So I don't want you to think that's what's happening here. I just want you to understand that these are things that we can use to our advantage. So one of his highest pitches thrown is the fastball, and it's at a velocity of around 92 miles an hour. And one of the things I like to look at is contact rates. Well, Acuna's got a 100% contact rate. Now, that's in 5 batted ball events. Dansby Swanson's got an 86% contact rate. Austin Riley's got a 91% contact rate. Those are 3 of the biggest bats in this lineup. And so when you're telling me that 3 of the top hitters in the lineup have contact rates over 80%, now there's some lower ones, like Ozuna's sitting here at 68, and Travis d'Arnaud is sitting here at 76. Orlando Arcia, which is more of a contact guy, is at 79. 92, and Adam Duvall is at 79. So there we go there. But then one of his next highest pitchers, Luch, is the sinker. And then we go to those contact rates, and almost the whole team's over 80%. This man is in trouble today at Truist Park. Balls are going to be flying. If you've ever been to Truist Park, there's a hotel that overlooks Truist, and it's called the Omni. Really nice hotel. If you ever get a chance to go to Truist Park, I recommend staying at the Omni at least once. Now I'm pumping up the Omni. Okay, there we go. We turn that off. That's less than 5 seconds. Stay at the Omni. It overlooks the park. Balls are going to be flying into the Omni today. It's not that close, okay? But it should be a great day for the Braves. I do like that stack a lot. I think if I had a home run call of the day from that team, believe it or not, it's going to be Adam Duvall. I mean, the guy's got a 64% hard hit rate on the sinker, and I'm sure he's going to see it a couple times, 526 ISO, 531 Woban. He's got an 87% contact rate, and the ground ball rate's at 20%. I think Adam Duvall is on the home run list. Like, he's a candidate. He's probably an unlikely candidate, right? He's not someone that we thought when we opened up this show today that we'd be saying, hey, get Adam Duvall in your lineups. But if you're playing the Braves, I think Adam Duvall is on the list. Luch, what say you?
I mean, you already know I like the Braves. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at Weather Edge. We have a 1-game sample size, but remember that one Weather Edge with really like 3 weeks ago, really small sample size. They had like 150% boost to home runs, and it is what it is. And the game went nuts. I mean, the bottom line is it's going to be 90 degrees. And where's Kirk when you need a dew point truther? Let me know if the dew point's looking good as well.
Oh, we're pumping up dew points now.
You damn right we are. Listen, man,
all right.
I like so many bats. I think Baltimore is in a sneaky spot. I do think the Orioles are much better than the bottom feeder perception that many will dub them. The Adley Rutschman effect is real. They've been playing good ball since he's been up. He's starting to come around. Lefties are in a really good spot here. on this Baltimore team. And, I think Odor is a sneaky boomer bust, low owned, cheap 2,300 on DK home run or FanDuel, home run option here. Cedric Mullins, love Rutschman on both sites here, hitting in the 6 hole today. I do like Baltimore quite a bit. And you know what? There's just some bad pitchers. On DK, you get the second game of Cincy and Pittsburgh. Jeff Huffman's pitching on one side and Bryce Wilson is pitching on the other side. Are either of those pitchers good at baseball, Chief?
No, neither one.
We're not going to pump up the pitchers, but we will pump up the hitters in that game for sure. So I like both sides there, and I like both sides in this Arizona-Colorado game. Like, I'm okay with full stacking.
Oh, man. Listen, can I get to my pump it up play of the day? Yeah. All right, that's less than 5 seconds.
All right, I'm
Colorado, my guy. Listen, listen, Liberatore is bad, right? He's absolutely bad, but he's like short-term bad. We've seen Dallas Keuchel get rocked for the past 2 to 3 seasons. I really, really like the Colorado Rockies today. And you know how much I don't play Coors, right? Guess what? They're not in Coors. They're in Arizona, and I don't feel like they're going to get tons of ownership. Dallas Keuchel, ladies and gentlemen, maybe the worst. He is one of the worst pitchers on the slate. I think he is the worst pitcher on the slate. 14% K rate, 5.72 xFIP, 12.3% walk rate, and he's still trying. Notice I said trying to get ground balls. He's throwing the sinker 54% of the time to righties. And look, we've got some good batted ball data here. This team should rock the mess out of Dallas Keuchel. Ball should be flying out of the arena. Out of the stadium. I really like the Colorado Rockies today. Let's just hope Dallas Keuchel can stay in and give up runs over the course of, let's say, 4 to 5 innings. Because it was so bad his last start. I think he had given up a fair amount of runs through 2, if I'm not mistaken, when I was watching the game. And we just thought for sure that he was coming out. I think he maybe had 54 pitches or some astronomical number through 2 innings. And somehow I feel like he made it 6, but I don't want to lie to the people. So let me pull it up. No, he made it 5, and that was at Colorado. Had already given up 6 runs. Had a negative 0.15 fantasy points, and now he gets to see Colorado again. I understand they're in Arizona. I don't care. This guy is absolutely awful. Like, pour gasoline on his underwear awful. Like, it's so bad. I love the Colorado Rockies today. That's my pump it up play of the day. Give me the Rockies over Dallas Keuchel. I think they put a hurting on them yet again.
Yeah, I see a short outing in the future for Dallas Keuchel. Still trying to get those ground balls. And you know what? His fly ball rate actually isn't that bad. But look at the line drive rate. I mean, if that's an indicator of how things are going, giving up a ton of line drives, giving up a lot of hard contact.
His ground ball rate isn't anything close to where it used to be. He used to be in like the 60s. Like, seriously. In fact, he may have even been around the 70s. Like, his ground ball rate used to be ridiculous. And now you're looking at it and you're going, well, wait a minute. Now we're around 30% line drive. Well, I guess the combination of the two, what is it, around 26%, 25%, 25.7%. I mean, look, man, we're going to see some frozen ropes. That's doubles and triples. I like it.
And not only that, you're going to get what? Maybe 8 righties in that Rockies lineup. It's just going to be a gauntlet, a right-handed gauntlet that Kykel is going to have to deal with. On the flip side, you got another guy who is a decent pitcher. I have more respect for him than Kykel in Gomber. He is really struggling mightily against righties, giving up a 250 ISO, not good. Line drive rate, not great. 44% hard hit to both sides of the plate. Listen, Luplow's already gaining some steam. A lot of expert blips you can see on Lineup HQ next to his name. He is really cheap. Great spot. Projected the lead off. He's a cash game play. I think if you're playing him, you're playing him in a stack for sure. So I think there's a real chance for fireworks here in this game with the way both teams are setting up. As long as Arizona cooperates with their platooning and we get the righties that we expect to for the most part, and guys like Alec Thomas hit further down in the order, in the lefty, if they're even in the lineup, which you probably will be. Give me both sides of this game, man. I want action on both sides with the bats here.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to move to another stat that I think is also possibly flying under the radar. And you guys have to excuse me. I thought my phone was charging, and it's actually not charging, which is
it's charging. You just got Joe Budden loop going on, and it's draining your battery, man.
No, it's not charging, and I actually know why now, which is very disappointing. Dang, that sucks. All right, well, here we go. Next stack on the list. I do think this is another pitcher that's not great so far. Like, maybe he gets better over time, but in terms of today, this is a team that I've been playing, I don't want to call it sneakily, but in the right situation. Today feels like the right situation, despite the fact that they don't have the best weather on the plate. On the slate, they are at home. How do you feel about the New York Mets? I knew this team was going to give people some problems initially because of what I felt like was the quality of their line, of their particular lineup that they would have day to day. And so when you've got to deal with Nimmo and Marte and Lindor and Alonso, and you're looking at these K rates, and they were striking out a lot more against lefties, but those numbers have come down as the season has gone along. This team has been great. Now, am I expecting them to score 10 runs? I don't think so. I don't think they scored 10 today. But 7 to 8 is reasonable. We get 7 to 8 runs out of them, depending on how they score them and when they score them. Maybe we get one timely home run right after 2 double RBIs or something like that, and you've got the right guys. And then suddenly this turns into a stack that while they only put up 8 runs, they've just churned fantasy points, right? And so Starling Marte is a guy that churns fantasy points. He gets walked, he steals a base, somebody brings him in, he comes back up, he gets a single RBI, and suddenly, his fantasy points are through the roof on the day. Of course, Alonso is a guy that not only is he hitting home runs this year, he's not striking out as much. So, he's getting singles and doubles and bringing guys home. Lindor, not hitting as many, not going to hit a whole lot of home runs. Like I'm saying, he's not going to be in the 40s, but he's a guy that's going to drive people home, and he's going to be streaky, but just in terms of the quality of the hitting on this team, how do you feel about the Mets against a guy that's got a 13.5% K rate, an 8.1% walk rate, and a 5.2 xFIP, not going to strike a lot of guys out? I think the Mets are big time in play here, and I'm not trying to do that to stroke our illustrious producer, Steve. Don't care about that. Oh, wait a minute. TJ, my man. He said almost 200 people watching and only 30 likes. Pump this thing up, people. Listen, I'm going to have to start playing Raise the Roof next. Come on. Let's go. 200 people. Let's get the likes up. I like you guys. Please like and subscribe. It does help us out. It also helps you out. How does it help you out? This show continues to be free year to year to year. This isn't behind the paywall. We come on live for you people, for you beautiful people, pretty much every day of the week. There isn't one day of the week that we don't have some sort of live content for all of the beautiful DFS people and minds out there. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You know what to do. Back to the Mets. Luch, I think they get a hold of Castano today. I like it. I think this team is in play. I like Mark Canha. JD Davis is at 33%. Don't care. He's cheap. Eduardo Escobar is my boy. 271 ISO. He's a likely candidate for a home run today. What say ye, my friend?
Yeah, we'll find a lot out about Castano again. He hasn't had a ton of work this season, finally pitching a lot deeper into games. And, he's been getting by somehow, some way. The xFIP is bad. The K rate's bad. He's walking a bunch of lefties. giving up some hard contact. He's pretty much a cutter. Like, he throws cutters, like, about 50% of the time. So you kind of know what you're getting to. So a predictable guy with, not a high K rate and the underlying stuff isn't good. I think the Mets are squarely in play for tournaments for sure. I think are they your sneaky stack? I mean, I'm kind of feeling Baltimore. I think I like Baltimore a little more than the Mets, but this is a slate where there's just so much terrible pitching.
Oh man.
That you can make a case for many different stacks here. And I think we're chasing Toronto, who's on a West Coast bad ballpark trip, basically, right? Played some bad pitching in Oakland, couldn't get anything going. Kind of did absolutely nothing. Was it against Caprillion and Cole Irvin? And you get these Blue Jays at just super low ownership. And they're one of the ultimate tournament teams. So you're getting Marco Gonzalez and a guy that I just always chase. Him and his buddy Chris Flexen out there in Seattle. They don't strike anybody out. Flexen is reverse splits, terrible against righties. Marco Gonzalez, the lefty, also terrible against righties here. So I know it's not the best ballpark, but eventually this Blue Jay team is going to put up 7 to 10 runs. And I don't have an ownership number on them. I got to do a refresh, but I can't imagine them being highly owned. I mean, there might be one or two batters carrying some ownership. I don't think anybody's going to come out here and stack Toronto.
I like Toronto. That was my next team on the list, Luch. You got to get out of my head. Producer Steve, anyway, is there any way we can get plate IQ up today? Like, is that possible? Is that in the cards? Because if so, I want to go to this Toronto-Seattle game, and I want to show these guys some of the things that I look at on a daily basis when I'm trying to make some of these decisions. Because when I show you one of my Hot Pockets, and the Food for Thought show, maybe it'll be brought to you by Hot Pockets. We got to get some food sponsors for Food for Thought, because not only do we like to talk sports, we do like to eat people. In fact, in honor of the Food for Thought, please, everyone, if you want us to talk about some different cultural foods this year on Food for Thought, some different restaurants, please plug that in. We have our GPP food of the day. Any types of foods that you like, drop it in the chat. We will try and talk about it. We've got a whole laundry list of TJ, we do like to eat people. No, we do like to eat, people. There we go. Thank you, TJ. You read my mind there. But listen, we're going to talk about it. Okay, Producer Steve, if we can get to the Seattle-Toronto game, there's something I want to show these beautiful people out here on the live stream and in your cars alike. Some of you may be listening on your drive home. We hope this has been entertaining. We hope this has been informational. Great, we've got it up. Steve, can you hit premium reports for me? Premium reports. Okay, you see that, people? Look, premium reports. There's another tab, Steve, that says recent trends. Let's go to recent trends, and then we're going to select Gonzalez, because right now that's on Springer Gonzalez. Now let's scroll down to the production last 30 days. It's going to be the last column. I want to show you people something, because Toronto may, in fact, be on the way to cruise to bruise Marco Gonzalez tonight. Look at this, Luke. Over the past 30 days, walk rate has increased 4.9%. And that might not seem like much to you, but now he's pushing 10% walk rate over the last 30 days. Look at this K percentage. Over the past 12 months, he's been at 18%. Over the last 30 days, he's been at 11.6%. I know the WOBA's come down some. I don't care. When you're walking guys more, striking out guys less, runs, that's going to equal runs at some point. And against a team like Toronto that's got some hard-hitting righties involved, the likes of Vlad, the likes of Alejandro, Kirk, the likes of Teoscar Hernandez, Espinal, Chapman. These guys have got ISOs over 200, and you're telling me he's walking guys more, striking out guys less over the past month. I am in on the Toronto Blue Jays. Lutz, I've given you some data behind the scenes. People, you've got premium data at your disposal in regard to the Toronto Blue Jays. Luch, how are we feeling? Do we like the numbers? I like it. Do you like it?
I think you need to pump it up real quick. Just give me a quick pump it up. All right, cut it.
Yes.
5-second rule. Yeah, and I did a refresh here with the Bad X ownership. I mean, they're coming in single-digit ownership numbers right here. It's beautiful. Eventually, they're gonna get it together. And I mean, the talent up and down. I'm sure I know Zworich is in the chat saying yes, Toronto, big Blue Jay guy. But seriously, it's kind of like, the upside is there between Toronto bats and Garrett Cole. Like you can pair some chalk with some low-owned, combinations that have just immense upside. And plate IQ is so good. I live in that tool. Like the tab is always open. There's so much stuff, so many variables you could cycle through. Especially when you see what people are doing last X amount of days, 30 days, last 2 years, over the season, the platoon splits are a big deal. And, you combine that stuff with some other tools and data, you can look for changes in velocity and then things just really start to make sense sometimes. Right. So, that helps in the prop game for sure. So yeah, I'm with you on Toronto. And, I was going through, I pulled a couple of questions here. And if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the YouTube or the Discord as we get going. But our guy Eric in the chat says, tell me about Lyles. I know we talked a little bit about Jordan Lyles, but Chief, and I know we're filling up with like the typical movie time. We gotta find some content here, but Lyles kind of spearheads the value for SP2. It sounds like, if you were picking a value pitcher, it sounds like it would probably be him. Talk to me about him. Is there anybody else, under 8K on DK that, would be in your player pool tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, man. I think that's my guy. I'm definitely not playing Lawrence, Wilson, Duggar, like Castano. Like none of these guys are getting played. Dallas Kykel, heavens no. Like I said, Gomber was close for me, but he didn't have the strikeout upside. Like for him to make it, he's probably going to go 7 innings, 2 strikeouts, and not give up runs. And that's just not getting it done for me. If I will say this, if Trevor Williams was pitching more than 3 innings, I may consider it. Like I may have thought about it, but it's not enough. So that leaves to me, Jordan Lyles is the de facto cheap pitcher because not only that, man, producer Steve, if we're still on Plate IQ, please, if you can find it in your heart to pull that thing back up one more time, and if we can just look at the general landing page of what Jordan Lyles is going to face tonight from a strikeout perspective, because there are strikeouts all in this lineup. Now, once again, as I have aforementioned, Jordan Lyles is not getting out of this unscathed. He is going to give up some runs. But the question is, does he go enough innings and get enough strikeouts to make up the difference? And look at this. And 26%, 31%, 24. I mean, 31 again. Yeah, Renfigo is at 17 and Stefanik is at 0% with 1 plate appearance. Walsh 33%. All these guys are well over 100 plate appearances out of the 9 bats. The strikeouts are going to be there. So I think at 6,900, he is the de facto cheap pitcher play of the day. But once again, he is going to give up runs. I'm not expecting, if Jordan Lyles doesn't give up any runs today, he's going to end with 25 to 30 fantasy points. He's going to get 5 to 6 strikeouts. It's just, and if he's getting 5 to 6 strikeouts, he may probably make it 6 innings. If he makes it 6 innings and doesn't give up any runs, he may be in the winning lineup. Because at 6,900, if he picks up 25 to 30 fantasy points, unless both of the big name guys get 30 to 35-ish, the amount of damage you're going to be able to do with the bats, having one expensive pitcher and one Jordan Lyles, you're going to be able to probably plug in 2 or 3 more quality bats that can really get you there. So if you're thinking about a Toronto where the big bats are 5K or Atlanta where they're 4 and 5K, and once again, now the team I like the most is Colorado, and they don't really have a lot of guys that are 5K. Guess what? It's just CJ Cron. That's it. Everybody else is very affordable. So once again, for me, I can get away with Cole and Dylan Cease, because my primary stack doesn't really have anybody over 5K. Like it's Chrome, like Brendan Rodgers is 43, but I got Grichuk at 38, Iglesias at 35, Daz at 29 if he's there, Chris Bryant for like I've got enough quality value bats to get it done. But if you like the Blue Jays and you like, and we didn't even talk about the Yankees who are also going to smash today. If you like the Yankees, then you're going to have some guys in there that you're going to want to get that are going to be 5K. And I think, I'm not looking at it right this minute, but I think Judge is out today.
He is,
if I'm not mistaken. So that actually makes their lineup a little bit better from an affordability standpoint because he would have been the other big bat. So the Yankees very much in play here. Josh Donaldson, 3,800. I did not omit them. I knew we would get to them later. But bottom line is if you want to play a lot of expensive bats, I think Jordan Lyles is the way to go. If you are, concerned that maybe he still doesn't get there and you want to kind of take the money and run with Cease and Cole, then by all means, double it up and we can get you some cheap bats in there. Luch, over to you, my friend.
Not only that, Donaldson, and we'll talk about the Yankees more, just grossly underpriced on FanDuel at 2,500. They just won't pump it up for Donaldson. They just refuse to do it. You talked about the Mets and Trevor Williams, and producer Steve, please don't kick me off the show. But, I'm looking at Plate IQ and, it's registering that he's throwing about 80% fastball. I don't know. I think it's more like 60 to 70%, but it's still a lot. It says he has a high whiff rate, like still giving up a decent ISO. He's only striking out 8% of lefties in the season, but he's striking out a huge clip of righties. Not having Jazz in this lineup really stinks. Hard to play, hard to like full stack the Marlins, but Jesus Sanchez in a really interesting spot. Stevie liked him on the morning grind, by the way, too. 244 ISO against righties this year. So I think Sanchez is in a really interesting spot here. Wish they had one or two more lefties. And the ballpark isn't fantastic for hitting, but I like Sanchez. I don't mind playing like a mini stack here with Garcia and maybe Aguilar, but I think Sanchez is the bat to look at on the Miami side of things here against the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big time into the Marlins today, but I don't listen. I don't ever mind a one-off play, right? You dig through some data, you find a nugget, you plug it in. Like that's the reason for putting in the time to do this research. So I like that a lot. Luch, I know from time to time we'll do something called Around the Horn, where we'll talk about our favorite plays at each position. Let's do our favorite plays at each position, but let's maybe do one or two. Like I'm not going through everyone. I'm just going to give out my one or two, and then we can get to what the people want to talk about. People, if you want to talk about something, please drop it in the chat. We want to hear from you. This is your show just as much as it is our show. If anyone has worked in the let's call it the consumer business or the retail business, the manager always says one thing: the employees, the customers pay your paycheck. We're here for them. Guess what, folks? We're here for you. Let's get a few more likes. That's your way of like checking out at the counter. You hit a like on the way when you buy something or you hear something that you like. So you hit the like button. And then we're gonna keep going, but we're here for you. If you want to talk about something, it can be food, it can be family, it can be fun, it can be video games. Just drop it in there, and then we will try to get to it along with the questions. And then one other thing, Herbert Good has just asked. He said, "Give me something in the prop game tonight." Herbert, this is just for you. If you can find Tony Gonzalen at 17.5 pitching outs anywhere, you should be able to find that. Then I would absolutely lock that in. If you're on Prize Picks, right, we've got some hits allowed props. Matthew Liberatore is at 5 hits. I'm taking the over on 5 hits. I think the Braves knock him around just a tad. So I like the over on 5 hits. In terms of pitcher fantasy score, guess what? I'm actually, and let me clarify this, on Prize Picks, they use FanDuel scoring for fantasy point scoring for pitching, DK scoring, or as close to DK as possible for hitting, okay? Just want to make that clear. For pitching, I do like Jordan Lyles over 24.5 fantasy points because I think he's going to get enough strikeouts to overcome any runs, and I also think he's going to get to go 6 today. So I like that 24.5 over on Jordan Lyles. We've got a walks allowed prop. And here's another thing. I think Daniel Castano walks at least two bats from the Mets as long as he's in there long enough. That's what I think. And if you look at Castano and you look at his walks over the past, 5 games, guess what we've got? 2, 2, 3, 2. I think he's going to walk at least 2 bats. So I like Castano over 1.5 walks. Those are some of the props that I'm on today. And hopefully those are in there. So don't forget Jordan Lyles over 24.5 fantasy points. This is all on Prize Picks. Jordan Lyles over 24.5. Castano over 1.5 walks. Liberatore over 5 hits. Like those are some that I really like. I was hoping they were going to bump Spencer Strider up to 7.5 strikeouts. They stopped at 7. I'm actually still willing to go under at 7, and maybe I get the push. I don't want the push, but I take it. But those are some props that I really like today on Prize Picks, and you should be able to transition some of those to some other sites as well.
Chief, I got about 8 or 9 questions I've been going back and tallying up here. So let's go around the horn like you said, and just watch our time here so we can get to some of these questions.
Yeah,
and we'll do the thing here. Also, Grant's been on fire with his home run picks, by the way, and he gives a free video home run pick over at Scores and Odds. And if you follow the MLB HR Twitter, and if you don't, you should. He gives out free home run picks during the weekday as well, and he's up a ton of units the last 3 or 4 weeks since he started.
Let me do this, then we're going around the horn. Eric, yes, I do like Lyles over 4.5 Ks. Like I think he goes for 6 today. So there we go. Jeremy said he wants to see some home run calls. I think we'll get to that, Jeremy, for sure. And then Dimitri wants me to go into more detail in regards to some of the links I was using for Plate IQ. Might purchase soon. Dimitri, we're going to go around the horn, and then if I can go back to Plate IQ and give you some more, let's call it behind the scenes, a little behind the curtain, then I'll absolutely do that because it's an amazing tool. There's some other stuff I look at every day too. But yeah, we're going around the horn. We're going around the diamond. There's no horn. We're going around the diamond. We're going to start at catcher. Any favorite catchers you like? I've got one that I really like a lot today. Who's your favorite catcher on the board?
Blindly, I got to bring it up. Blindly is Adley Rutschman. I like that he's a switch hitter hitting lefty. He's one of my longer-ish odds to hit a home run call. Yeah. He was over 6-1 earlier in the day. I don't know if the line moved, but I think that is serious value. He's really coming around the last 2.5, 3 weeks here. So catcher and a little bit of a longer odds home run call going hand in hand here. I like Baltimore in general. I like Adley Rutschman quite a bit. Listen, I mean, you can't go wrong with, Will Smith, and we didn't really talk Dodgers, but they got a team total that's only 5.5 going up against a pitcher that's completely pedestrian here. So I'm not really overthinking it here. No, ownership's not getting out of control. d'Arnaud mashes lefties, hot weather. You're going to pay for him, but don't sleep on d'Arnaud in those Atlanta stacks. Definitely include him. He's sometimes one of the forgotten guys, especially on FanDuel where you don't need a catcher. So d'Arnaud, Will Smith, Rutschman. If you're on the Mets and you're playing some large field stuff, James McCann's like the lefty masher. I remember that conversation, from last year that kept popping up. But he's hitting in the 9 hole, so that kind of stinks. But if you're playing the Mets, it's probably in large field stuff anyway. Those are some of the matchups that I'm picking out.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Luch is not listening to directions today. I said, give me your favorite catcher. He named 10. He's pulling a Dean on me. I'm just kidding. But yeah, my favorite catcher on today, and this is a guy I've just been really investing in. It's actually Alejandro Kirk facing Marco Gonzalez. I talked about these numbers. Gonzalez is going to get rocked. I like Kirk to send one a frozen rope or some sort of melting meteor through the arena tonight, through the stadium tonight. He's got enough guys that can get on base ahead of him, like him a lot. And then, of course, My second catcher, since Luch named a couple more, got to be Diaz against Arizona. And I was about to say Max Fried. It's not Max Fried. He's a lefty as well.
Dallas
Keuchel.
So bad you can't remember his name. But
yeah, he's bad.
On the flip side,
in fact, when I was trying to pull his name up, I actually saw him in Houston in my mind. I know he's in Arizona. Was with the White Sox earlier.
I like TJ's call in the chat with Carson Kelly.
I don't mind Carson Kelly either. I don't hate Carson Kelly, but Alejandro Kirk, he's a guy I've been investing in. He's been good. We're moving to first base. Luch.
I have to name one guy. One guy. That's it. Just one. All right.
No. Name as many as you like.
No,
we got some
I'm not
big time.
I'm not breaking the rules, so I'll give you one guy. He's sub 10%.
And not the obvious plays, right? I want the gems. That's what we want. We want the gems. We want the give your gem play at first base. The guy that maybe nobody else is going to play today. That you would say, hey, this is our guy. Let's go, because we're going to get questions about everybody else. What's your gem? What's your under the radar? Nobody's playing this guy today, but I'm definitely going to hit him up.
Well, on DK, you can get just about anybody under 10%. It's looking like,
correct
premier upside position here. A team.
I've got my one guy.
I think I'm going to steal it. I bet you I steal it. It's a team we didn't really talk about going up against a less than average pitcher who is kind of reverse splits, I believe. First baseman who hasn't been having a great year, but it's Jose Abreu. I think he's in a fantastic spot here. I think the White Sox are a stack that I definitely want to get my hand in tonight for sure too, that, have a chance to just totally pop off. Eloy Jimenez is back, homered yesterday. Great to see him playing baseball again as well. Yeah. And I think the White Sox and Abreu are certainly interesting.
Okay. I'm gonna stay in that vein. Now, this guy is very low owned, and I think it's because he's somewhat expensive. And I talked about this team at the latter end of our pump it up stats, and that's Pete Alonso at 5,500. Like, he's just not getting ownership today, like none. And this is a big time spot for Alonso here. We talked about the numbers. Alonso, he's got he's got a 222 ISO and an 18% K rate. Like, this is a big spot for Alonso. I think he could homer his first day, but he's also got a 14.8% walk rate. So the fantasy points are going to be there. The opportunity is going to be there. Really like Pete Alonso at first. One of my top plays on the day. Here we go. Next up on the list, second base, Luch. Give me a hot one. Give me something to pump up here. Who are we playing at second that nobody else is playing?
You know what? I'm stuck between two here. Two of my off the radar plays here. I mentioned Odor, and I think he is in a decent spot here. We didn't talk about the Yankees much, but how do you not have to have some interest in DJ LeMahieu?
Yes.
Leading off. No Judge in the lineup. I know the lineup is a little watered down for sure, but LeMahieu, Carpenter has had his moments for sure. Talk about guys coming back from the dead. So
DJ's at 4%.
I mean, you're going to get these Yankees pretty low. I mean, I know Judge is out of the lineup, but you can't pretend that Josh Donaldson doesn't hit. Stanton doesn't hit. Torres has been really good this season. For Christ's sakes, Joey Gallo hit a home run this week. It's like, print the shirts. When's the parade? What a rut he was in. But he's super cheap as well. I mean, wraparound stack with a little Gallo and LeMahieu and some large field tournaments. I can totally endorse that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you 100%. I like it. I think those guys are going to go to work. Here's a guy that I like today that he's actually garnering a little bit more ownership than I thought. I didn't expect them to come in, let's call it this high, but here we are. I like Brendan Rodgers against Dallas Keuchel. And that is going to be a theme. That is a part of my stat. I didn't expect him to be at 10, but he's one of my top plays, man. I don't see anybody in baseball can just flop on you, right? But when I look at Brendan Rodgers' numbers, 235 ISO, 423 WOBA, 12.1% K rate, 9.9% walk rate. And remember, what is Dallas Keuchel throwing? Mostly he's throwing sinkers. Do you want to know what his contact rate is? It's 96%. I really like Brendan Rodgers to rack up some fantasy points here today. I think it's a big-time spot for him.
If you're just tuning in, Chief likes the Rockies today. If you've been tuned in, you are well aware his love for the Colorado Rockies on tonight's slate. And also, if you're just tuning in, Garrett Cole, large field option. Joe Musgrove, large field tournament option. Don't overthink Dylan Cease for cash games if you're tuning in. Great matchup, super high ceiling. A Detroit lineup that doesn't walk at all. Not a ton of value, but Chief is penciling in Jordan Lyles as the de facto DK SP2 value play. So there's a real quick pitching rundown in a nutshell if you're just joining us. But let's move on here. We'll keep going around the horn, and then we'll get to some questions, Chief.
Yeah, man. We're at third base. Let's pump it up.
And if you just join, we're pumping it up for sure. Yeah, I mean, listen, do we have a Pirates? Did the first game end yet even? But, I mean, Ke'Bryan Hayes projected to lead off again against Jeff Huffman. We didn't talk a lot about that Pirates-Reds game other than the pitching is going to be atrocious on both sides. And what is it, the Great American Small Park? I mean, the fact all of those variables are lining up. And although it is a free-swinging Pirates team, there's so many bats, and I feel like such a sellout saying I like half the slate. But really, there's a lot of bats going up against a bunch of terrible pitchers or Atlanta is in good hitting environments. The list goes on. But Ke'Bryan Hayes, it just makes a ton of sense tonight in this situation. Let me just confirm he's in the lineup first, Chief.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no problem. Take your time. And let me scour the chat here. I just want to make sure we don't have anything interesting. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I don't see anything interesting that people want to talk about. Got it. Good. So we're straight there. Got it. There it is. Well, since you were looking at that, let me just say, also in that game, and this is crazy. This guy's been bad, but I don't really care if we get Mike Moustakas. If Mike the Moose shows up here, I mean, he's very cheap. Against Bryce Wilson, I'd be willing to roll the dice. Wait a minute, he is in the lineup. He's 3,400 at third base. Mike Moustakas is incredibly cheap. Definitely think he is someone that you want to get on your list for sure. He's just too cheap for this spot. Granted, he's been awful. He's been bad. I cannot overlook that. Here's a guy that I want to plug in at third. And this is based off of the fact that I think this lineup, despite the fact that we didn't talk about them a whole lot, they should put up some runs tonight. The team total suggested they should put up some runs. I like Justin Turner, 4,300. I think that's a great price for a guy that's been a professional hitter in the Major League Baseball for a while now. One of the last spots of the night. And guys, I talk about this a lot in terms of strategy. And man, I wish I would have talked a little bit more strategy today. But the later the games, the less likely a team is going to get played. And I've said this a lot. As fantasy sports players, most want instant gratification. They want their teams loaded up. You can look at it in football, MLB, NBA. It doesn't matter. The later the games get, the less likely the ownership is going to creep up. Less likely people are going to play them, which is why on a night-to-night basis, the Dodgers, the Angels, the Oakland Athletics, and whoever's playing out there don't get the ownership. So with that being said, I know we didn't talk much about the Dodgers, but I do really like them today. Not really afraid of Leader Jr. Leiter Jr. The K rates are still very low. Justin Turner is still sitting at a 15% K rate at third base. Leiter Jr. is another guy that's throwing a whole lot of sinkers. Guess what? Justin Turner's got an 89.6% contact rate, a 10% whiff rate. Now, the ground ball rate's at 40%. The hard hit rate's at 50. The ISO's at 262. The WOBA's at 444. I'm willing to roll the dice on a 40. I think is he 43 or 4,200? Let me check. He is 40. Yes, there it is. Thank you. They are 43. He's $4,300 and gets a really prime time matchup. I like Justin Turner at third today as an off the beaten path play here for tonight's slate. But don't forget that, people. The later the games, the less likely the field is going to play a good team. The Dodgers, the Mariners, those teams that play at 10 o'clock, forget it. You can play them any night in any matchup. And the thing is, it doesn't matter who the pitcher is. We could bring back Homer Bailey to pitch against. And for those of you that have been playing DFS a while, Homer Bailey's a gas can. Shout out to my boy Pepsi 7. Homer Bailey's a gas can. If he was facing the Dodgers still would not have the ownership that they should because they're playing at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just remember that. Keep that in your pocket. I give up that nugget every year, but it's held true my whole DFS career. The later the games, the less likely the guy's going to be playing. All right, Luke. That was third base.
Wait. Just want to real quick. This will be real quick. Josh Donaldson, FanDuel, way too cheap. Third base, 2,500. What are we doing here? That's all I want to say before you pump it up and move on. Catch your breath. Take a quick drink, my man, Chief. Lead us to the promised land here. Let's talk about shortstop.
It's on you. Shortstop. Let's get it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, the thing with those late games is, you don't get a lineup card, or maybe they're not as high owned as they should be because half the field, if you're playing low stakes, wants to set it and forget it. It's during the week. You got stuff to do. You got to bring your kids to practice. You got to go run errands. You got to go to the grocery store. Who wants to wait for the Dodgers lineups? Who wants to rip Excel sheets back and forth? Fly home quick, sit in traffic. I get it. There are plenty of reasons why that some of these teams just don't garner the ownership that they should. But anyway, I mean, I really like Trey Turner. Anytime Trey Turner is sub 20%, honestly, right? Because the Dodgers are in so many smash spots, and he's so good, and he's in such a potent lineup that you have to like him. I mean, it's such a boring take there is Trey Turner. But someone with just a skill set arguably as good, depending on who you ask, is Tim Anderson. And I want to come back to this White Sox.
I like that call.
I want to come back to this White Sox matchup here, and I just think they're flying a little bit under the radar here. And Eloy Jimenez is back in the heart of that lineup. He's priced up to 4,100 on DK. So I mean, you're not getting that return from IL price generosity there. On FanDuel, he's 2,900, I think I saw. So I mean, there's a big discrepancy in prices there too. I think the White Sox are sneaky, and I like Tim Anderson tonight too.
Yeah, for sure. I like that call a lot. I don't like that as much.
Maybe
not your call. This was something I was looking at here. But there is another guy at shortstop that I like. You talked about Trey Turner. That is the one guy on the Dodgers that's pushing 20% tonight, and for good reason. I mean, the guy just gets fantasy points. So no one's going to stop you from playing Trey Turner. But if you're looking at shortstop tonight, over the landscape.
That's my mistake. In the world? My mistake. I had FanDuel pulled up. He's coming in a little lower, but go ahead.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This guy is too cheap for where I think this matchup is going to end up tonight. He is expensive. I don't like the price, okay? And this is more of a reason to possibly, if you're getting creative and doing some of these things, then Jordan Lyles may start creeping into a few more lineups if you want to get something like this done. And I'm actually shocked that he's at 4% on FanDuel. I mean, on DK, but I get it. Why is Francisco Lindor so cheap tonight? He's not been better than Trey Turner. I get it. He's 5,700. I do think he's overpriced. But if I can get to him, especially my Met stacks, I'm willing to do that. This is definitely a guy that I think has some upside in the spot. I've talked about Castano. I've talked about the fact that, the Mets should score runs tonight. And I'm not a guy that feels like I have to have a whole bunch of home runs in my lineup to win. Do I want them? Yes. Do I need them for every spot? Absolutely not. If Francisco Lindor hits a single RBI, steals a base, gets brought home, guess what? He's pretty much pushing home run fantasy potential. So really like Lindor tonight at 5,700. I'm going to cheat the system here. And then we're just going to lump all of our outfielders together because there are so many. Luch, as many outfielders as you want to talk about. We've got about 4 to 10 minutes before the crunch time crew enters the building, and we can get them pumped up and send them on their way. Let's talk about the outfield. Let's get to some questions, and we're going to ride off into the sunset, my man.
Yeah, I'm compiling the questions as you're talking here. Any Orioles love, Uzi? I like the O's. If you're tuning in late, I think they're sneaky. The lefties in that lineup are in a good spot, and I think Adley Rutschman at 6-1 is crazy home run value there as well. Yeah, I mean the outfield. Typically, you just have a ton of options, and this slate is no different because there are a lot of below average pitchers, or as Dean would say in his honor, a lot of pitchers who are not so great at doing their job on tonight's slate. So, just the stack and the team I started with is Atlanta, and I think that is my favorite stack. I love the Duvall call, Chief. I love, you can use plate IQ, not only break down platoons, but pitch types and the hitters that hit them well. And you have batted ball events, all kinds of data. I know Dimitri was asking about it in the chat. I mean, there are probably plenty of people that are premium subs in this chat that can vouch for how great plate IQ really is. I like these Atlanta outfield bats. Jordan Luplow, super cheap, great matchup, leading off.
Big time ownership tonight on him too. 20%.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing. That's the only deterrent. But he is a cash game play. Like Luplow is a cash game outfielder tonight for sure. At that ownership, in the situation he's in. So, I do not mind as much as we like Lyles. I don't mind these Angels power bats either. Julio Rodriguez leading off against a pitcher we don't know a ton about, or is Anthony Banda now? Wow, name drop Anthony Banda. I think he is actually opening. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, for Toronto. But I'm going to stick in that game, and I think it's George Springer. As long as he plays baseball tonight. Again, we don't have that lineup, and he's not going to get the ownership that he should against Marco Gonzalez, who stinks against righties. So you can't go wrong with the Diamondbacks. Can't go wrong with the Braves outfielders, and I really like George Springer as a tournament option.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to kind of round this out with like some guys that I think people will maybe play in their stacks or maybe not. But if you're playing the Yankees, I mean, you got Stanton, you got Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks is 2,500. Coming in, I think, at pretty low ownership as well against Winkowski. I'm not afraid of Josh Winkowski. So I like the Yankees outfielders. Of course, the Mets outfielders, I don't have to tell you that, but the Mets are a very expensive team tonight, which is another reason why I think people aren't going to get to them. They're expensive. Like if you want Marte and Lindor and Alonso and Nemo, like Mark Connor's 3,400, like he's on my list. He's less than 1% owned, and I think the Mets are gonna hang a number on Castano today. So really like him. You talked about the Braves. My home run call, absolutely Adam Duvall out of the 7-hole. I think he has a big night. This is another home run call for me out of the 7-hole. 7-hole dongs tonight. Gavin Sheets, 2,900. I think he's coming in hot against Bo Brisket. And it's actually Bo Brisky, but we're calling him Bo Brisket for tonight's show. He's going to get smoked by Gavin Sheets tonight at 2,900. Did you catch the correlation? If you didn't, it's okay. We'll be back on Food for Thought on Monday talking more briskets, football, and dongs. Here we go. Also on the list, we got the Rockies outfielders. Jonathan Daza down here at 2,900. I really like him a lot. We've got Connor Joe at 4,100, another guy that I really like a lot. And let's not forget about the Toronto Blue Jays. All of these outfielders, Lourdes Gurriel, 3,600, Springer leading off. I mean, just big-time spot for them. And then outfielders for the Dodgers, I like them all. Cody Bellinger sitting here at 3,700 yet again. He's streaky. He's going to get hot and have a stretch of home runs. Could it start tonight? Maybe, but at 3,700, if I'm stacking the Dodgers, I'm absolutely pairing him with the Muncies of the world, the Turners of the world, the Freddie Freemans of the world. Like, that's going to allow me to get that stack in and still feel pretty affordable. Gavin Lux in the 9th spot at 3,900. I don't hate him as well. But those cheap bets, and this might be a good spot to run like a 3-5-7-9. You can run all the lefties, and now you've got a really affordable Dodger stack. You're leaving out Trey Turner, you're leaving out Mookie Betts, but you're getting all of the lefties against Leader Jr., and it's cutting the cost down on that stack. If we're doing a little discount deal here on the Dodgers, it's definitely the 3-5-7-9 stack, and I absolutely think that's viable on tonight. They're already low owned. You're basically leaving out the number one play on the Dodgers, which is Trey Turner, and taking all the upside of these lefties. I like that a lot for the Dodgers tonight. And look at that. When people thought that we were going to run out of time because we had this full long hour and a half show and we started out with the shenanigans, we've given you the data, we've given you our picks, and here we go. Crunch time is right around the corner.
They're right. We got less than 5 minutes, but I think I queued up a decent amount of questions, so we'll kind of go a little lightning round here, Chief.
Let's go.
And stick with us because crunch time with the rest of the crew is coming up right here. I got a question for you in the chat from earlier. It was Cardinals or Mets stack for high upside in GPP, and I think you're a Mets guy today.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the Mets. I'm not high on Strider strikeouts in terms of prop play tonight, but I do think it's the Mets over the Cardinals for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And drop some questions. If I missed it, I'm sorry. But you'll have an opportunity when crunch time comes in as well. Which stack is the most likely to blow up one of these aces? Matt said in the chat. I think it's Boston if I'm picking one. Cole hasn't been good in Fenway. If I have to pick one, I think it's Boston. Like, you're not getting leverage really though, because he's not, Cole's not going to carry that ownership. He typically does. Is spending up a catcher the move? Antonio asked in the chat, Chief. What are your thoughts on spending up a catcher?
I like it. I do like Alejandro Kirk a great deal. So for me, spending up for sure. I think if I had to pick a stack to blow up one of these aces, I think I'm going to side with the Giants just because I'm not as high on Musgrove as everyone. I think that's who I'm going to side with, but I'm not. That's not like I'm not feeling great about it. But if I had to pick one, I'm just not as high on Musgrove as everyone else, I think, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So John in the chat asked about a Pirate stack. Like both sides of that game, Chief, would you agree that it's definitely formidable to throw some Pirates together for a stack?
Yeah, for sure. Oh,
okay.
I did see this one from Eric. I know we're hopping all over the place. Sorry, Luch. Absolutely, like over 5.5 strikeouts for Garrett Cole. Like absolutely. Like if you got 5.5, like take it. I love that.
What about Jordan Lyles over 4.5? I saw that floating around in the chat too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Stan had a question about the Reds bat. We like both sides of that game. Both pitchers are really bad. I don't think you're crazy at all for playing Reds bats. In fact, I think we really like that game collectively, Chief. Any interest in the Mariners? Frank asked. We didn't really talk about Seattle. A lot of unknown there, kind of a bullpen game with the Blue Jays. What are your thoughts on the Mariners tonight?
I think they're okay. Like I don't feel great about the stack. I'd absolutely lean more to the Toronto side of that game, just based on the the factors that we saw at Marco Gonzalez. Like, listen, when I dig for numbers like that and I see it, I get really excited. So I'm more on the Toronto side, but I think if I'm doing anything with Seattle, maybe I'm doing some home run hunting because, when you start seeing different pitchers, like they'll probably see 4 or 5 pitchers tonight. Now, that mean they can't knock them all around, but my point is I'd rather I think I'm going to side with the team that's going to get a little bit more consistency on the mound so they can see them 2 or 3 times through the order.
All right, we have like 30 seconds before crunch time starts getting in here.
30 segundos.
So give me a quick yes or no. Spencer Strider, you in? Like if you're playing 1 to 3 lineups, you roster.
No, I'm out.
You're out on Spencer Strider. Don't like the Cardinals in the low Ks. Okay, that's fair. Crazy upside though. Saw a question about the Orioles. We do like Baltimore bats. Me a little bit.
And the St. Louis lineup isn't the same as usual, but I'm still off of it.
Thoughts on a full Angels stack? Will you get any kind of leverage on Jordan Lyles if he carries ownership? More of a mini stack, I think, or the power bats for me.
Here's what's crazy. You might, and this is a strong might, you might be able to get away with Jordan Lyles and playing Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani in your lineup. Like they could both hit bombs. Lyles gives up 3 or 4 runs. still get 6K, still go 7 innings, right?
Here's another one. Here's another one. I got to go rapid fire at you quick because they're cutting the lights off soon. Would you play Javi Baez in tournaments, Travis?
No.
Asked. Favorite FanDuel pitcher? Give me one name, one word answer.
Garrett Cole.
Ooh, okay. Got one coming in. Favorite one-off play? We're looking for home run upside, I suppose.
I mean, for me, it's Adam Duvall is like my home run guy tonight in the 7-hole. And I know people are playing the Braves, but I do really like Duvall.
We have 100 likes right at the buzzer, so TJ's got to drop his home run call. Good work, Chief. And look at these beautiful people, as you would say, joining us here for Crunch Time. It's Kevin Roth, it's Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, and Keith Eyster, the Iceman over there. I don't know if you guys are tuning in, but we played our quota of Joe Budden Pump It Up for probably the next decade in this lobby today.
We brought him in. We're pumping up the Crunch Time crew. We're pumping them up. All right, I'm turning that off. Don't want to have any copyright issues. Welcome aboard, Crunch Time crew. Rod, Dave, Eric, the Iceman. It's all yours, fellas.
Hey, we appreciate it, guys. Great show, by the way. I caught the end of that. Great work. So we will take it from here. It is indeed Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. By the way, if you haven't done so, make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. New users get a no-sweat bet up to 1K. FanDuel Sportsbook users, they get to take advantage of that bonus after their first-time bet. So we got some good stuff going on over there. And you got some free content thanks to FanDuel as well. So hit that like button if you're watching on the YouTube. We are joined by a couple of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, as per usual, Dave Potts, a.k.a. Mr. Cheese is Good. What up, Cheese?
Good day to you, sir.
Good day. That's all you got?
That's all I got. I'm just thinking about, have you always said what you just said, instead of a risk-free bet, a sweat-free bet?
No, it is now. I'm very impressive that you noted that here. It is now the no sweat bet.
The no sweat bet. Yeah.
Yes.
That, I like that's catchy. I like that so much better than risk. It means the same thing. I understand. I liked it. It caught my ear. I'm here for it. Yeah.
Right. I think legally it means something slightly different, which is the reason for the change, but I like it as well. It's the no sweat bet. That's what it's going to be from this point on. We also have the Iceman joining us. What up, Ice? How are you?
Good. I've got one eye on lineups again, so if I have to duck out for just a second, waiting on this Pittsburgh lineup here, which is pretty close to lock. So I will definitely need to make sure that's in for the people. But yeah, really good slate here. Tons of hitting everywhere, some good pitching as well. So excited to break it down.
Did Chief butcher your name at the start of the show? Did that happen?
I think he slipped an Eric in there.
I thought I got an Eric.
Ice, Eric, they start with E. Yeah. We're close enough.
It's pretty close. It's Keith Eyster, a.k.a. the Iceman. But we are happy to have you because what it is pure talent on this side of the booth. And we're happy to get some picks from you, man. Let's talk a little bit of weather here because there is one game that I'm watching, that being Atlanta. And geez, I'm getting the impression via Twitter people want to play pitchers in particular. They want to play some cat named Strida.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the top pitchers and one of the top offenses, both.
Okay, well, you are 99.9% fine for bats, so I have no issues there whatsoever. And I like what I'm seeing enough that if you want it on pitchers and you're okay with a little risk, I think you go for it. The majority of the storms that are going to be around Atlanta have already cleared south. What remains back behind that really isn't a whole lot. Still, certainly a chance that a storm pops up and causes a delay, but I think that chance is low enough that you can go for it. I would say your chance of avoiding a delay that causes you to get a pitcher pulled is somewhere between 80-85% or so. So I think you got a pretty good shot that things are going to work out. Does that work for you? Does that assuage any fears, Cheese?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So you still have that, 10-15% chance, 15-20% chance of a delay or whatever the numbers I just said. But I think it's going to work out okay. With that said, that's really the only weather concern. And I do love the hitting weather in Atlanta for what it's worth as well. But let's talk about some of these pitchers, Cheese. You can lead us off. You mentioned Strida as one of them.
Yeah, there's basically 6 aces It's a very loaded slate.
Okay, so if you don't want the weather risk in Atlanta, it's very easy to get off it.
It is, except the whole thing is Strider is the one ace that's $1,000 cheaper than everybody else on both sites. Okay. That's where it gets tricky. You can't just straight swap him. Okay. He's in his own pricing tier, which is the reason why he'll be moderately popular. I mean, I definitely like Cease and Cole better than Strider, but it's baked into the price. And anywhere I don't need the salary, I'm not playing Strider ahead of Cease or Cole anyway. So basically it's Cease, Cole, and Strider kind of in their own little top tier, and then Musgrove, Webb, and Gonzalen kind of in their secondary top tier, where I think you just, if you're doing a bunch of lineups, I think you do some pivots. Mostly just like Cease is going to be the very popular guy. I'm confused and unsure, and I don't have any idea where Cole's ownership is going to land. I think it'll be really low on FanDuel, and I like him there a lot. I think on DK, I think it'll be Cease, chalk, and then kind of split with the rest. Okay. Below the 6 aces, Jordan Lyles is the only mid-tier guy that I'm playing. I don't love him, but he's okay, and should get some strikeouts and some innings. And then that's DK only. On FanDuel, he's priced up. The dirt cheap guy that we don't even know 100% for sure that he's pitching at all is minimum salary Casey Lawrence, who's also not good. This is nothing but he's minimum salary, period. And there's a lot of things to spend on. Mm-hmm. But do not expect much out of him. I'll just tell you that I'm playing him because there's a lot of lineups you can't get without him. Okay.
Ice, you want to run through kind of your pitcher takes? Any of those guys, those 6 aces that you're against, any that you're fully on, or you kind of spread out? What's your deal?
So I'm not against any of them. I do think that the top 3 are a good bit better, slightly a tier ahead of the Musgrove, Gonzalen, Webb. So I'm focused on trying to get over the field on Garrett Cole, Dylan Cease, and Spencer Strider. Hopefully this rain risk lowers Strider's ownership a little bit. But that K rate, anytime you've got a guy with a massive K rate like that, I'm not concerned about the lineup that they're facing. So the Cardinals being a low strikeout, high contact team, Strider has come out and had double-digit strikeouts on multiple occasions this year. I still want plenty of Strider. Cease with that matchup against the Tigers is phenomenal, and then Garrett Cole is just Garrett Cole. So those are the 3 guys I'm really focused on. I will sprinkle in some Musgrove, Gonzalen, and Webb as well. But I just think that the upside of the other 3 is a little bit higher. I'm with Cheese on the weird Casey Lawrence stuff. Pretty confident that he's going to be the long reliever there for Toronto. So I'm on board with that. He's minimum price, and there's really nothing below spending up that is worth paying a couple extra $1,000 for. So I'm fine just completely punting it.
Okay. All right. Anything else here, or shall we get into some stacks?
I don't have anything else pitching wise.
Okay, let's do it then. What is your favorite stack? What's the chalk stack? What do you like that's a little sneaky? Ice, you can lead us off.
So there is a ton of great offense today. I don't think that there's any real chalk. There's some individual hitters that are just underpriced that will be chalk. But as far as stacks go, I don't think there's one chalk stack. But there's probably a dozen stacks that I think are very much in play and could put up huge runs today. My favorite is Atlanta. Liberatore just has not shown any skills against right-handed batting. The Braves have been on fire here recently. They're expensive, which is going to hold their ownership down a little bit, but I love the way that they line up against Liberatore here. You do have some cheap bats at the bottom of that Braves lineup that kind of help you pay up for some pitching also. So I like a good mix of a couple of the studs and then throw in like a Duvall or an Arcia to save some money. And that helps you get that stack. I like the Blue Jays a ton against Marco Gonzalez. He hasn't been striking anybody out this year. They're very right-handed heavy and just line up really well. The Dodgers against Mark Leiter Jr. for the Cubs. Great spot for them. I had the Yankees higher earlier in the day. No Judge, no Rizzo in that lineup. So they do take a slight hit. But it does lower the price of the stack as well, which is nice. You get Carpenter hitting third for a low salary. Yeah, I knew Cheese would love that one. So I'm still playing Yankees. They're not as high on my list as they were. I love both sides of this Colorado-Arizona game. A couple of bad left-handed pitchers there. A very right-handed Colorado team sets up against Dallas Kykel, who should just not be starting for a major league team here in 22. The Diamondbacks get Gomber, who just has not been anywhere near what he showed us last year. I like the Mets against a bad lefty as well. Tougher ballpark, but a very powerful offense there. The Mariners against this Blue Jays game, I'm going to play both sides of that. So Lawrence, just because he's cheap, but he's still not a great pitcher. I'm going to stack some Mariners. They get Ty France back today. And I mean, there are several more teams. The Reds Pirates game on DK is very interesting to me as well. Not available on FanDuel, but I do like both sides of that on DK.
Good Lord. Yeah, that was like 12 stacks.
There's still more too. The Angels are in a phenomenal spot. I like the Orioles for some cheap ass. There's a ton of offense today.
Okay. Well, Cheese, let's try to narrow this down unless
I mean, this jabroni didn't even mention half the teams almost. Like that's the slate. It's wild. Like, did you even mention the White Sox?
Just very briefly in passing.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. So, if you're going to narrow it down, which at some point you might need to, like, I didn't narrow it down. I spread out all over the place. The Braves are so far ahead of the pack for me that, like, I could narrow it down to the Braves. Like, if I was doing 3 lineups, I would just do 3 Braves and just go out to dinner.
Okay.
But everything that he named is fantastic. Like, this feels like a 15-game slate, at least, because we've got 6 aces plus a dozen elite offensive spots.
Okay, below the Braves, is there like a second tier for you, or is the second tier 15 teams?
Yeah, the second tier, I think, is 15 teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right, let's talk position by position then, Cheese. And you can lead us off with a little catcher talk if you don't mind, sir.
I do not mind. Certainly, there's plenty of things in stacks on FanDuel that you can play at catcher. On the DK side, I love 3 spend ups: Smith, Kirk, Darno. All really worth spending up on. But going double aces, you run out of money quick in a lot of ways. Like guys like Cal Raleigh in the mid tier are okay. But this is also a place maybe you save money. Carson Kelly will probably be the popular punt at 2,300. I think you can do Moreno for Toronto down at 23. It's good. The spend ups are good. The spend downs are good.
Okay. Before we get too deep into bats, I do want to take this question from DY real quick, and this brings it back to pitchers. But geez, DKGPP, I don't hear a lot of endorsements for playing pitchers in the same game. I wanted to get thoughts on playing Webb and Musgrove together.
It's no issue whether they're in the same game or not. Like both guys are in play, but like you're playing, to skip the main 3 just for the sake of doing it. Like I have no issue. Those are pitchers number 4 and 5 on my list. But I would rather play 1, 2, or 3 with 4 or 5. It doesn't hurt them that they're in the same game, but they're just not in the top 3.
Okay, good answer. All right, Ice, let's get your takes on catcher, and then you can move it into first after that.
I agree with everything Chief said. The top 3, Darno, Kirk, and Will Smith. Love all 3 of them. Darno is my favorite if I had to pick one. Carson Kelly, a phenomenal punt. Don't mind Reese Bluwire as a punt for the White Sox, and Papierski for the Reds on DK.
Papierski.
Okay. Papierski. All right, first base.
All right. Let's see here. Christian Walker for Arizona, one of my favorite price guys on DK. Carpenter for the Yankees, hitting 3rd tonight. A great lineup spot for him. Vlad
listen to Keith just tell the people what to play right there. Just
love it.
Vlad, of course, a phenomenal option for the Blue Jays. One of my top stacks on the slate. Freeman for the Dodgers. LeMahieu has first base eligibility here. Like him, Jose Abreu is a little bit underpriced. CJ Cron for the Rockies in a great spot.
Okay. Geez, I imagine you're all aboard the carp train here, but what else do you like?
Yeah, this is a great position. I absolutely love Christian Walker and Pete Alonso, and I'll say Vlad as kind of the third guy. Like if I had 3 lineups, I would have my 3 Brave stacks, and I would have a Vlad, and Alonso, and a Walker, and I'd be done with my day and go out to dinner. Like I love those guys. Everything else Keith mentioned is very much in play. Assuming whenever we get this Pittsburgh lineup, anytime would be great. Vogelbach is an interesting
It
bump.
just came in, so I'll let you handle second here as well.
Okay. Perfect.
This is the second time that you've brought up going out to dinner. Do you have dinner plans that you're very excited about?
Well, so I know that I'm going out to dinner, and I don't know where. Like, and I don't even know. So Mrs. Cheese texted me a while ago, like, "Can you go out to dinner tonight?" Which about half the time means she's got something in mind she wants, and about the other half it means we're going out with people that I may or may not know. So it'll be a fun surprise for me.
Okay.
Way.
I could tell something was happening because you don't usually bring it up that often. Usually you would have mentioned ice cream twice by now, but
Right.
Okay. Well, enjoy your dinner plans. Let's talk second base.
This is, again, the weakest position on the board. Max Muncy on FanDuel, just, again, so cheap, mega chalk. You can also play Torres, Kettle Marte, basically the same price on FanDuel. I like all of those guys. DK, it's tough. I really don't want to have to spend my salary at second base because it is the weakest position. I'm just looking at this Pittsburgh lineup. Looks like we do well. Josh Van Meter down at the bottom. It's fine. He's 3K, but Kennedy for Arizona is not great. But using a total punt all the way down at 2K, I think is very viable because of how weak the position is.
Okay. Espinal in now leading off is what TJ just dropped there.
That makes him interesting on DK quite a bit as well.
Okay. Ice, you want to walk us through second as well?
Here, let me flip over
you don't
there.
have to.
Yeah, let me make sure that this lineup gets in before lock here, so it gets loaded into lineup HQ. So I'll jump back in just a second.
Okay, that's fine. Cheese, why don't you take us to third base then?
All right. Third is good. It's not as good as first. Like I'm sort of prioritizing certain positions. Basically, first base, shortstop, and the outfield, I'm kind of putting ahead of third and second, just as far as how much I like the spend ups. Austin Riley is far and away my favorite play if I have money at third. You are allowed to play Rafael Devers against Cole, even if you're playing Cole. I didn't get there myself, but like he's just one of those guys who's always in play. Everyone everywhere in this Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game is fine, but Hayes is out, which I don't really care, but it does take away one of your mid-tier options. I think you probably use your Yankee at third, Carp or Donaldson. Mm-hmm. And I also like Matt Chapman, a very good bet later at night.
Okay. How much Carp do you have?
Not as much as you'd think.
I would have thought really, 100%. So.
Yeah. Not really that much.
Okay.
He's going to hit a home run, but so are a lot of people.
Sure. Okay. Ice, you ready to jump back in? Are you working on lineup HQ stuff?
Yeah. So the Pittsburgh lineup just came out. I'm working on getting it confirmed into lineup HQ, but I can run off some third baseman here real quick. I'm just one step away there. Muncy, a fantastic option. Austin Riley would be my favorite play at the position. Love the Braves. Donaldson is underpriced. Carpenter has third base eligibility as well. Love Chapman. The R leading off for the Angels is a decent option. And let's see, Turner for the Dodgers is the other guy I have here.
And Keith, since you're doing the Pittsburgh lineup as we speak, is Hayes the only guy who was kind of projected in that's not in that's going to change something?
Let me see here.
Like we got Vogelbach. I have a lot of Vogelbach, Cruz, and Sawinski. I would imagine. Okay, they're in. So Brian Reynolds is
Vogelbach and Sawinski are in there, and Cruz is in there as well. Yep.
Wonderful.
Okay. Cheese, why don't you take us to short?
Yeah, so we've been seeing this every day where there's just this clump of really good shortstops that are all essentially the same price, other than Trey Turner being a little bit higher. And then on DK, O'Neal Cruz is a little cheaper, which is why I was asking about him. But But so Trey Turner up high, Cruz a little cheaper, and then it's Swanson, Bichette, Anderson, and Lindor are the group that I really like tonight. I would go Swanson first, Bichette second, and Anderson and Lindor mostly in stacks. But I just love all those guys, and I think it's along with first base. These are the positions I want to make sure I'm getting somebody good.
Yeah. Okay. Ice, you got any quick thoughts here at shortstop for us?
Yeah, love Swanson and Turner up at the top. Tim Anderson is great as well. Bo Bichette as well. Lots of upside there at the top of shortstop. Definitely think you want to be spending up here. Lindor, you can put into that conversation as well. If you're looking to save money here, like I said, I think it's a spend up position, but Kyle Farmer or Jose Iglesias would be the two cheaper guys I'm looking at.
All right, Cheese, let's head out to the outfield.
I like the way you say that. Let's head out there.
Let's head out.
There's so many spend ups, and they're great. If I'm ranking them, I'm going to go Trout first, Acuna second, Ohtani third, Julio Rodriguez fourth, and then it's kind of a clump. Trying to find my list over here. That next clump would be like Stanton, Betts, Robert, and then you're sort of into a really good mid-tier that's affordable, like Teoscar, Chris Bryant, Eloy Jimenez, especially on FanDuel, is really cheap. Ozuna, it's a lot to like. And then on DraftKings especially, but also sort of FanDuel, you've got Jordan Luplow if you want him. I think he's going to be really chalky on DK because of the price. Not so much worried about ownership level on FanDuel. You can also do I like Adam Duvall. He's not nearly as cheap as Luplow, but I like Duvall a lot as a cheap guy.
Okay. Ice, you want to walk through some of your favorite outfielders? I want a hot take. I want a spicy outfielder.
I mean, there's really nobody that's overly owned. Luplow is very owned. But a lot of these other guys are just coming in around like that 10-ish% range.
Because there's so many good plays that you don't have to stress about it.
Yep, absolutely. So you've got like Acuna, Trout, Mookie Betts. All those guys are just around like 10 to 12%, which is fantastic. I like Luis Robert a good amount as well. Chris Bryant is in a phenomenal spot. Teoscar Hernandez for the Blue Jays here. Let's see. Bellinger for the Dodgers. Hummel is kind of like the pivot away from Luplow. He's hitting second for the Diamondbacks. Luplow is going to be much more popular. You can pivot to Hummel there. Would be a decent option.
Okay, excellent. Okay, one stack to win it all. Cheese, you going with Atlanta, single entry?
Yeah, definitely.
Ice, one stack to win it all. You also jumping on the Atlanta train, or you got something else for me?
Atlanta would be my answer. Since Cheese said them, I do like Colorado very much as well.
Okay, good stuff, guys. Let's get some QQs going. We've got 15 whole minutes until lock, which should be plenty of time. Going to scroll up a wee bit here, and I'll go to Achilles, DK Cash, Cheese, Timmy Anderson and Hummel, or Bichette and Hicks?
In cash, I would go Bichette and Hicks. If you're torn in cash, I think it's reasonable to be a little worried about pinch hits for Hummel and Luplow. So if you can go away from those guys in cash and like it just as much, I would do that.
Okay, great. Ice, DK Cash question. Boy, you got some good options here. Acuna, Ohtani, or Trout?
Yes.
Very, very close tonight. Yes. It is really close. I lean Acuna ever so slightly, but all are fantastic.
Okay. Cheese, Jay says, I've got two lineups for tonight, one in a DK single entry and one for the $15 contest. In which one would you play an Angels 5-man stack, assuming I'm playing chalky pitchers?
Angels 5-man. I would play that in the single entry.
Okay. Good answer. All right. FanDuel Cash question for you, Ice. 2v2, Riley and JP Crawford or Trey Turner and Donaldson?
Turner and Donaldson.
Cheese, over to you. Sherman's Tanks, FanDuel Cash, Vladdy and Iglesias, or Abreu and Bryant?
I'd go Abreu, Bryant.
I like this question from DY. Ice, is it too chalky to go double aces with Cole Cease, or would you pair one of them with Musgrove, Gonzalen, Webb?
I like the Cease Cole pairing. It is a little bit chalky, so you make sure you're differentiated with your bats. But I like the upside so much better for those two guys tonight.
It just seems like there's so many good pitchers that it won't be that chalky, right?
Well, Cease has the great matchup. I think he's going to be pretty chalky. Cole, I agree, is actually under-owned.
Yeah, I'm very curious how Cole versus Musgrove lands. I think it might be closer than it should be.
Okay. All right. Cheese, FanDuel Cash question for you. Swanson, Walsh, or T. Anderson and Carp?
Probably Swanson Walsh is the answer.
All right. Ice, you want Darno or Smith and DK Cash?
Oh, man. Smith is probably the right answer for Cash, but I absolutely love Darno today.
Okay. Cheese, favorite stack in a FanDuel single entry? I assume that's Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right. I'll just give you another one. That one we already knew. DKGPP, I don't know if this carries much weight, but oh boy. I'm glad Cardi's not here. Devers has 4 homers against Cole. Is he a good one-off?
Well, I mentioned him at third, not because he has 4 homers off him. That does not carry any weight. But what carries weight is Garrett Cole will allow power to lefties, and Devers is a great power lefty. So, I mean, it's totally viable as a spend up to be different tournament one-off.
Okay. All right. Scorekeeper says, Ice, what are your thoughts on playing a team like Seattle today? Not necessarily Seattle today, but in general, like Seattle today, when going against an opener and then a long reliever. Does the quick change in pitchers matter? Is it something that's good, bad, indifferent?
Mostly indifferent. I will say, like, when you have a team that platoons a ton, like say it was the Giants, and you had a left-handed opener, I do think that increases the pinch hit risk quite a bit. But with the Mariners, I'm not too concerned about it. Both are right, or actually Banda is left-handed. So you kind of have that situation here. I would be cognizant that lefties might get pinch hit for a little earlier than normal, but outside of that, not concerned.
Good stuff. Cheese, is there anything you want to add to that? Because I am curious, is that something that you factor in? Do you care?
No, I just ignore the opener and as if he does not exist. Because like the opposing team has already set their lineup knowing this is a 1 inning guy. So they're not going to change something after that guy comes out because they know that as much as we do.
Right. Okay. All right. Carolina guy says, Cheese, FanDuel 3 entry max. Your favorite third with 3,300 left.
It's pretty good on FanDuel. I'm going to say Chris Bryant. It's Bryant, Suarez, Muncy was what I was sort of vacillating between.
Okay, great. Ice New Generation says, FanDuel GPP, what are your thoughts on Seti Mullins as a one-off?
Yeah, I think he's fine. I actually don't mind the Baltimore stack at all. Silseth is a very young pitcher. I think there's a chance he could get blown up today.
All right. Bean or FanDuel GPP, Bryant or Ozuna? Cheese.
Ozuna.
DY says, is Strider too risky, DK GPP?
That could be a weather question.
I'd play him in a GPP. Yeah, I'd play him. There is a chance for a delay, but I'd play him. Let's see.
From a baseball perspective, he's a wonderful play.
Okay. Cheese, I'd like to hear your thoughts on 3.8 Mike Trout. He's 3.8. That seems
that's like FanDuel. Like it seems ridiculously cheap, but there's only like 5 players more expensive than that. Like he should be 4.2 instead of 3.8. But like FanDuel pricing it doesn't really mean that much. He's great.
Okay. All right. Sunset Night Cheese, Ozuna or Reynolds, DK Cash.
Ozuna.
All right. DK Cash, Ice coming to you here. Hummel, Acuna, or Kennedy Trout.
I'd go the second one there.
Ice, what are your thoughts on a D-backs stack in FanDuel single entry?
Yep,
This is a
absolutely.
D-backs. There's a okay. There's a little emoji that threw me for a loop, but it's of a rattlesnake, so I get it. And you're all for it?
Yeah, I mean Gomber has been really bad this year, so definitely all for it.
Okay. DFS Dre, cash question for you, Cheese. Trey Turner or Dansby Swanson?
Yes. I guess in cash it's Turner, but they're both fantastic.
Okay. Could Connor Joe be the next great action film star? Connor Joe in The Revenge of the Space Blunks. I don't know what the hell that means, but yeah, it's a good name. It's a good name. Chinatown says Roth, ATL okay in cash, meaning Strider. Certainly bats are okay. It's probably an unnecessary risk, but I really do think it works out for you. So if it's the play that you need, then go for it. If there's something you can do just as easily, please do the other thing in cash. Palak, Ice, I'm coming to you. Best outfielder on DK for 3.9. He says maybe Grichuk.
For 3.9, I like Grichuk. I like Bellinger at 3.7 quite a bit as well. And Pollock is another good one at 3,600. So, and Lourdes Gurriel at 3,600 as well. So lots of options there.
Okay, great. Can you trust Gonzalen in a FanDuel GPP? Cheese, if you get one pitcher, you go into Gonzalen?
No. I mean, trust is a funny word because, yes, you can kind of trust Gonzalen. But he's not as good as the other guys. So, yes, I trust him to be good. But I still don't he's not as likely to be as good as the people ahead of him.
Right. Okay. DKGPP last in Luplau or Sheets or Luplau or Sheets. Yes, that sounds a lot better. Ice, who do you like?
I mean, it depends wildly on the rest of the lineup. Luplau is far chalkier. So if you need some differentiation, I do like Sheets, but in a vacuum, Luplau is a better play.
Okay, great. FanDuel Cash, Cheese, if I just want to set a 2v2 and go out to dinner, you're asking the right man. Do I want Iglesias, Alonso, or Boba Fett and J-Don?
Oof. As much as I love Alonso, I think I'd rather go Boba Fett and Donaldson.
Oh, Donald. I couldn't figure out J-Don. Okay. All right. J-Sam says, Cheese or Ice, is tonight the night the Dodgers troll everybody and break the slate after last night's performance? Is this leader cat any good, or does it not matter because it's the Dodgers?
So I don't think Leiter's any good. He's had some success in short stints, mostly out of the bullpen this year. But that second time through the order, he's been hit really hard. So the Dodgers are in a very good spot, and the Cubs bullpen has been really bad as well, especially the middle part.
Okay. Cheese, how many stolen bags will Bertie get tonight?
1.
Okay. That's right. What is the over-under? Is it just always like 0.5?
Almost always, yeah.
Yeah, like he's always pretty much the most likely guy of anyone to get a stolen base.
But it's still likely to be under 1 in general.
Yeah, it's not like he steals one every game, even though it seems like it.
Yeah.
It's like Judge with home runs. Like it seems like it, but in reality, it doesn't actually happen.
Yeah. All right, 2v2 GPP Cheese coming to you here. Luplow, or as I like to call him, Luplow and Espinal, or Kennedy and Naquin?
Interesting. Kennedy, Naquin.
Okay. I'm going to jump on over to the YouTube chat here as we've caught up on all the questions in the Discord. Cody says, is 3 Strider lineups, 2 on FanDuel, 1 on DK, too much? He didn't say how many lineups he's got. So,
yeah, that's the whole question.
Right.
We need the rest of that information.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. The Detox says Aguiar or Chavez, last piece, one-off DK single entry. Cheese.
I like the very sneaky off the board Aguiar.
Okay. Ice making you work for this one. Musical One says, I need an outfielder for 45 hundo on DK.
4,500. Let me filter the outfielder. That'll make it easier on myself. Give me. I like Chris Bryant at 42.
Okay, great. Cheese John says, is it true that Cheese was runner-up in a Terry Bradshaw lookalike contest?
And the first place winner turned out to be Terry Bradshaw. I feel like I was host.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's good stuff there. Okay, we did have a real question for you too, Cheese. Any interest in a Giants stack?
No.
All right. Ice Webb as a pitcher in a GPP. I may have missed this, but I love him today.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. He doesn't have the same strikeout stuff as the other guys, but if Strider gets delayed, Cease walks too many guys, and Cole just gives up a couple of home runs or something, there's certainly scenarios where Webb can match those three. He's
right.
in the conversation for sure.
All right. Just had someone ask, is Strider safe? Is Strider still a good play with weather? I think it's a good play. I don't think it's the safe move. Literally, you can play any other pitcher and you will not have to deal with the potential for a rain delay. But he's undeniably a good play. And I do think the weather is more likely to work out than not, like significantly more likely to work out than not, 80-20 or so. So yes, I think all in all, we're kind of in agreement. He is a good play, even weather considered, but not the safe play. Okay. 3,200 last spot for a catcher, Cheese, on DK.
32. That I need to look at. I don't feel like 32 is where I was landing. Like my initial instinct is just pay all the way down to Carson Kelly. And you've got extra money. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. Let's lightning around a couple of these. We're like a minute away from lock. DK Cash, Cheese, Kelly India or Smith Kennedy?
Smith Kennedy.
Ice on FanDuel, is it just to be different at one spot? Is Arcia viable in your Atlanta stacks at second? Being at second is kind of ugly.
Yes, love it.
Jay says, should I even consider stacking the Angels in DK single entry tonight? Cheese?
Yeah, I mean, I would lean mini stack first, just like Trout, Ohtani, and either Walsh or Ward. But yeah, I do like it.
Okay, Achilles, DK Cash, Ice, 3v3 here. Cole, Donaldson, Teoscar, or Strider, Muncy, Marte?
I think for Cash, the safety with Cole is where I'd lean.
Okay, Cheese. Beaner says, I have 3,800 left in the util on FanDuel. Give me the best play.
Well, as we've learned, that is Mike Trout, $3,800.
There you go. NBA DFS, FanDuel Cash in the util, Ice, Espinal, or Pollock?
Espinal.
Timmy Tebow, less than a minute to go. DK Cash, Cheese, Gamel Reynolds, or Sawinski Pham?
Sawinski Pham.
And with that, we have hit the lock. I've got a sneaky home run pick today.
I like it already.
It's so sneaky, I can't even think of the guy's name. That's how sneaky it is. So, Cheese, you're going to have to remind me of this guy. I think he's on Cincinnati. He's got a big bat. He was like maybe a couple years ago. We thought he was going to be really good, and now I don't know if he is.
Are you thinking about Tyler Naquin?
No, I'm not thinking about Tyler Naquin.
There's nobody on Cincinnati we ever thought was going to be good. Enzo?
Oh man, I saw the name earlier and I thought.
I feel like you can't possibly mean Cincinnati.
I think I do mean Cincinnati.
I mean, you're not talking about Moose Tacos.
I'm not talking about Moose Tacos. I wouldn't forget that.
I mean,
Eugenio Suarez.
He's on Seattle, but you're right. He did play for Cincinnati in the past.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better.
He's now in Seattle. And he's actually that's actually a really good call.
Thank you. I saw that and I was like, who's hitting the bomb tonight? This guy whose name I couldn't remember.
That's why I was confused. I was like, yeah, that is not that. But he did absolutely play for Cincinnati.
Okay. I did not realize that was that he was gone. But that guy's hitting a bomb tonight. So get your home run picks in. Tag me when he does it. All right. Let's see if we got a late lock question or not.
Man, everybody in chat was sure that you meant Aquino.
Yeah, but I didn't. Well, of course,
right? Because
I did say right. Yeah, I did say I didn't even get the right team, so it'd be tough for people to be able to pick who I was talking about. Hey, with that, I think we can get on out of here. So for Cheese and for Ice and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.